Hello Minecrafting guys and non-binary pals. Now in today's video you're looking at the premiere of what I'm going to maybe call the improvement or the redesign series. I don't know, it's not really a series, more just a series of videos that will be scattered around the channel every now and then during the year. Now you may be wondering where the hell I am. Well, this is a custom mod I made in World Painter, and as you can see there's a lot of gravel and sand, something you'd find in a quarry. And you're already sort of maybe chuckling because as some seasoned Doctor Who fans who may be watching this know, basically every alien planet in Doctor Who was a gravel quarry in some place in England, and that was literally the scenario for like 95% of any alien planet. So I thought, whilst I'm doing this cool new redesigning series and re-improvement series of classic Dalek Mod stuff, I might as well do it in a really silly gravel quarry, because it gives a chance to have, you know, a good nice observation. I've built actually a little observation deck over there, and as the series progresses I'll put more stuff in the quarry, you know, to look at stuff. But enough of what I've built, and time to see what's actually featuring this video, namely the Sontarans. Now when it comes to the development of the Dalek mod, I usually class things into three categories. Things that get improved over time, like the Daleks, the TARDIS, and a few other things. The majority of stuff fit into that category. The stuff that gets deleted from the game, very sadly, and never come back, you know, stuff like planets like Omnicron and the forest in the box dimension, very sad. And then there's stuff that fits into sort of both categories, which is like, it gets taken out of the Dalek mod for a few years and then comes back miraculously or better, stuff like the vortex manipulator and a few other things. But the Sontarans don't fit into any category. They were added very early into the Dalek mod, around 2011 and 2012, and as they've progressed in the mod they've stayed basically the same. They haven't been deleted, they haven't been removed, they've just stayed pretty much exactly the same. And there's nothing wrong with the model too much. The only thing that's happened to the Sontarans since they've actually been added was they were given a ship on Trenzalore, but that wasn't planned for a Sontaran, that was just a building competition between other players, so they weren't confirmed to be given a ship. But I thought it was about time the Sontarans got a bit of love, because the Sontarans, maybe not as amazing as the Daleks or the Cybermen, are some of the most famous Doctor Who enemies. They've been there for a very long time and have come back a lot and had a lot of reprises, especially in Classic Who and in New Who. So I think they really deserve some love. So in this video I'm going to be showing a few redesigns I've had, some generated structures ideas, and some other things along the way I'll scatter in. Now the first thing I'm going to look at is the original model. Now it's not bad, but it's not great because it doesn't really fit into any era of Doctor Who. This is more like an amalgamated Sontaran of every era, because it's got the whole classic Who Sontaran look, but it's got the 2008 sort of New Who Sontaran height and demeanor. And I think that it's about time the Sontarans, you know, got differentiated and we got to see sort of a more progression field, similar to the Daleks and the Cybermen. So that's what I've modelled today. Another thing I actually want to mention about the Sontarans, which is just so weird, is their AI can be so odd. Because sometimes they're just completely hostile, and sometimes they're neutral, where like if you hit them, you know, they'll attack you, but if you don't, they'll leave you alone. And then sometimes they're non-hostile, and then after about a 10-second wait, they'll start suddenly attacking you. It's so really weird. And personally, I think the Sontarans should just be plainly hostile. And, you know, yeah. So I've done tons of Sontaran variants that I'll be talking about. And yeah, we'll start at the beginning. We first look at the classic Who Sontaran look, first seen in the Time Warrior, this being sort of more like Commander Lynx. Now, I know this is very, very similar to the original sort of Dalek model one, but I actually really love that design. I think the eyes and everything look pretty good. I think it's not a bad design at all, but I just feel like it needed editing. So the first thing I did was actually, as you can probably tell, I made it taller. Now I haven't made it as tall as the original Minecraft player. It's still, the Minecraft player is still a bit taller, as the Doctor was a bit taller than Lynx, and so was Sarah Jane in a bit. But I have made it taller because the Sontarans weren't like tiny like Strax and Stahl. They were actually quite, you know, regular sized. They weren't pint sized to begin with. And what I've done is, first of all, is I've given a new belt, because the Sontarans had a more sort of bigger utility belt, or Lynx did in the Sontaran experiment and the Time Warrior. And I've also given sort of a an exposed helmet, you know, like helmet off look. And I really like this. I think that it's quite nice. I've made it sort of darker and more sort of varied than the classic, than the New Who one. I mean, I've added, but I feel like it's quite nice. Moving on to the classic Who Sontaran General, it's basically the exact same, except the Sontaran General had this sort of this other ring and this weird design on the top to sort of dictate that they were in charge. And there's not really much of a difference between them. All I've done is sort of added a new helmet section, and with these versions, I've actually taken off the gloves, because that's sometimes what Sontarans did. I don't really like the ungloved look. I really don't, but you know, screen accuracy points. But yeah, in Classic Who, the Sontaran look didn't change much. However, in the 90s, they did do two sort of different Sontaran things, like the Shakedown and the 1999 special. But since they're not canon, I decided not to do them. Maybe if you want me to do them, I'll post some new pictures of them I can model on my Discord. But I just wanted to look at the canonical looks. I'm sorry, I just wanted to really make this video, and making each one of these models takes a lot of time. Moving on to New Who, there's only two major designs, well, one and a bit, but we'll discuss that later. The first one we want to look at is the Russell T Davies Moffat Sontaran, or, you know, the New Who Sontaran. That sort of ended with us last seeing it in Deep Breaths. So, unlike the Sontaran General, I mean, I could have done a sort of a different look for style, but really, like I said, these take a long time to model, so I just wanted to do sort of one exposed head look and one sort of regular sort of helmeted look. Now, as you can tell, these are actually a lot smaller than the original sort of Classic Who ones, but I think that was kind of the point, and what they were going for with the original design was they're quite small, and I think I've actually nailed the height here. And I'm really proud of them. I feel like it's a nice look, and it's the first time we've actually seen sort of a more colourful look for the Sontarans, because I'm assuming this is what most people grew up with watching. So yeah, I think it's a really nice design. I've kept the old eye look, and yeah, there's not really much to say about it, but I think it's really cool. But tell me what you think in the comments. Now, moving on to the Chibnall Sontaran, we haven't actually seen these on screen, but we have actually got some cool leaked footage or leaked pictures of what they look like, and I'm really a big fan of what the new look is, because it looks like Chibnall has done sort of a similar thing he did to the Cybermen. So he's pretty much scrapped the Moffats and RTD era and gone back to the original classic grey and black era. And actually, as much as I don't really like Chibnall's new designs for a lot of things, I actually kind of really do like it. And what he's done is he's taken the original classic look, and he's done sort of a similar thing he did with the Warrior Cybermen, which was just make them bulkier, make them more sort of padded with like gear and stuff, with armor plates on the legs and the arms and the shoulders, and I'm a massive fan of it. I think it's such a cool look, and it makes the Sontarans look like proper warriors, and I am so up for it. We haven't seen them on screen, and I don't know what their head looks like, so I just made this one here. But I'm actually kind of proud of this. I mean, I know it's not very blocky like Minecraft should be, but you know what? This is my video, and as I'm not an experienced modeler, I think it's kind of a cool look. But yeah, so that's what I've done. Now, as you saw me sort of exploring the quarry, you probably got a glimpse of this, which is a generated structure idea I had. Now, as you know, I already told you that the Sontarans did get a sort of a ship on Translor, and although it's a good design, and whoever built the Sontaran ship did a very good job, I felt like it was very out of proportion, like it seemed way too small, because it was a massive mothership that the Translor ship was designed off. So instead, I decided to sort of create sort of what I thought could be really cool. Similar to the Weeping Angel video, how I mentioned that I think the Dalek mod would really benefit from having an overworld structure in the Dalek mod to add to the survival aspect. I think this would be something brilliant to have in an overworld as something as like an early challenge, because I feel like it's a very iconic look, especially in the Sarah Jane Adventures in the early Classic Who, with the single Sontaran pod in like a field or in a mountain, and it looks really menacing. So that's what I've done. I used one of the TARDIS wall blocks, and I think it's fabulous for it, because it has that sort of crosshatch design that the Sontaran pod is so iconic for having. If we go inside, there wasn't much I could work off. I mainly used images from the Sarah Jane episode where you see Karg crash landing to Earth, and I've sort of built this sort of Sontaran battle pod where you're like sitting by the screens, and I'm really proud of this. I think it kind of looks quite cool. Then the next thing I added was the side screens. You know, I know it's a bit basic, but you know, I suppose that you can always change it. Second thing I added were these two shulkers, you know, for a bit of loot. I added some transparent blocks. Is something that happens in the Sarah Jane Adventures is they're able to cloak the ship, so I thought that'd be quite a cool little nod to that, because I don't know if you'll be able to get invisible blocks. That might seem a bit sort of ridiculous, but I thought that might be a nice nod. But there'll also be ammo and titanium and steel, because, you know, it is a warrior ship. And that's basically the generated structures idea. And I think for an overworld structure, it could be a really nice early challenge and something you could really get some nice blocks from. Now, the last idea I wanted to show you, I can't actually show you because I can't model it and I'm really struggling with finding a way how, is some cool new items to have. Now, I don't know much about what Sontarans could drop per se, but I thought two really cool items you could have would be the Sontaran blaster and the Sontaran stick or staff.
Hi, Editing Dev here. Whilst looking through images, to help with this video, I realised that the Squid team actually did have a Sontaran baton in the Dalek mod, but they removed it. So, yeah, here's the recipe, here was everything. So, add it back, Squid team, please. Anyway, back to the video.
Now, there's many weapons in the Dalek mod, but one of the ones I was so surprised didn't fit in was the Sontaran blaster and the Sontaran sort of paralyzation stick that they used, because the Sontarans had that really weird sticky weapon, and that was such a really weird and iconic weapon the Sontarans had, and I'm surprised that it didn't get in when weapons like the classic cyber gun did. And another weapon that I'm really surprised didn't get in was the Sontaran Blaster, which is such a cool looking gun and was featured in so much of Doctor Who, with the Sarah Jane Adventures and with Strax. I'm surprised it hadn't got in, and I can't model it to show you, but I think they should be added as sort of weapons that not only the players can use, but the Sontarans spawn with, because it makes them such more of a menacing foe if they had weapons. I mean, looking at the Tribunal art again though, it does look like the Sontaran is holding some sort of like reddish weapon, so I suppose the XP9 laser gun is kind of a cool substitute for this version of the Sontaran, but I'd really love to see the Sontaran sticks and the original 2008 Sontaran blasters, because I think they're such cool weapons, especially in Doctor Who, and I'd love to see them in the Dalek mod and use them, because they're like some of the coolest looking design things. But yeah, so with that I think I'll end the video. Thanks for joining me at the Quarry, and thank you very much for watching, and bye bye.